Bitcoin Libertarian. Today is not an ordinary day. In just a few hours in Dallas, Argentina, my home country, faces Austria in the 2026 World Cup. So I thought, what a better warm-up than bringing on one of Austria's sharpest Bitcoin minds to represent his country before the match kicks off. Today, we have Robin Seyr. He's an Austrian Bitcoin educator, host of the Robin Seyr podcast with over 700 episodes, author of The Great Capital Shift, speaker and co-founder of MicroSeed, a company making Bitcoin self-custody simple and sovereign with beautiful metal backups. Robin has spent years interviewing the best thinkers in Bitcoin and building the case for why Bitcoin isn't just digital gold. Is the foundation for a freer society and the ultimate destination for capital in this new era. Robin, welcome. How are you feeling ahead of this historic clash between Argentina and Austria? Are you nervous or are you confident that the red-white can pull up an upset?
Yeah, the good thing is that if Austria loses today against Argentina, like nothing really happened, because I think we don't really expect 3 points against Argentina. So if we can just have a tie or just like annoy the Argentina players a little bit, that would be already like a win for me, because clearly Argentina's team is a lot it's just a lot better than the Austria team. But we have seen a lot of surprises so far in the World Cup. I've seen yesterday Belgium versus Iran. That was a crazy game for me because Belgium was so much better than Iran. But for some reason, it was a tie. We've seen Spain. I forgot the opponent actually, but Spain, the first
Cabo
game
Verde.
played, Cabo Verde, they played 0-0, I believe. And so like, it's not impossible that we might get a point of Argentina. I don't think we'll win at all. Like I wouldn't bet on Austria winning, but we potentially get a point. We potentially have some annoyances in the Argentina play, but the Argentina team is a lot better than the Austrian one.
Yeah, of course, pound per pound, Argentina is much better than Austria. Argentina is the last world champion. The players are not playing with the pressure of winning another World Cup. Of course, they won, but it's not the same pressure as before. But as you said, football is football. That's why I love football, because it's unpredictable. It's like Bitcoin. Sometimes you do everything correct and things go south. And I think that it's going to be a tough match. It depends how it evolves in the first 20 minutes. But I think that it's going to be a tough match for Argentina. And again, I will be up at 1 a.m. here in Hong Kong, starts the match. So I will be. And as you said, a lot of surprising results, as in every World Cup, have been happening. So why not Austria getting 1 point or giving a surprise? Last World Cup, Argentina started the World Cup against Saudi Arabia, and we lost. So again, anything can happen. Football is unpredictable as Bitcoin. So for me, it's a great pleasure to have you here. And since I saw the draw, we were going to play against Austria, said we need to do something with Robin that day. Even though, of course, you said that you are not a diehard football fan, but again, it's going to be great to watch the football and to enjoy it. And I have another Austrian friend here in Hong Kong, but he also doesn't like football. He doesn't even watch the football, so I cannot talk with him. So anyways, Robin, we talk about, I think we spoke at the beginning of last year. Situation was much different. Bitcoin had just crossed the barrier of 100K. The sentiment was different. Now we are under a big correction. We went from 126K to 60. Now we are in 65. What are your thoughts about what we are living today?
Yeah, I think we are in a classic Bitcoin bear market. I know a lot of people were hesitating to call it like that, but I think now, 8-9 months after the last bull market top, we're down 40-50% depending on the current price of Bitcoin. It's very clear that we're in a bear market, and it's very clear that we didn't see 2026 turn out to be this amazing year. I mean, there's still a chance that 2026 might actually turn out to be an amazing year for Bitcoin, but the chances are getting smaller with each passing week and months that we don't really get the momentum going, which honestly is the greatest gift to all Bitcoiners, except if you want to retire next year. So if you're looking for retirement quite soon in Bitcoin, it's a really shitty year. But for everyone else that does not want to retire next year or in 2 years, it's the best possible thing that can possibly happen, because it actually gets you close to the retirement, it gets you closer to financial independence, it gets you closer to all of those things, because you can now, for your same fiat salary that you get, let's say you get, I don't know, 50K, 100K a year, let's make a round number. You get 100K a year. Last year in October, you didn't get a full Bitcoin for that. Now you're getting 4 Bitcoin, 1.3, 1.5 Bitcoin for the same 100K salary that you got last year. So especially, and because I think most people that listen to podcasts do not work in Bitcoin, they just listen to it because they want to hear about it. So they have a fiat salary that probably even went up a little bit due to inflation, maybe like 5%. They got a 5% raise or something like that. And additionally to that, they get now more Bitcoin, more sats for the same salary. So if you don't retire in the next 1-2 years, this is the greatest gift that anyone could have ever given you. And it's the perfect time also to rotate from all the other assets, because the S&P 500 is up. All the AI stocks, maybe you had some AI stocks, are up massively. And it's so, if you have other assets, if you have a normal fiat salary, whatever you kind of have on dry powder, or just like US dollar cash reserves, as we call it now, this is the perfect time to gobble up a lot of cheap Bitcoin. And so that's why, if you don't retire in the next 2 years, it's a great time to be a Bitcoiner right now.
Yes, and because last year I remember, and I was talking to you in the previous before going live, that I saw you in Lugano, but I couldn't talk to you because it was super crowded. At that time, Bitcoin had just reached 126, the all-time high, and the sentiment was different. Last year, every people were talking about the super cycle, that bear market was not coming, we were going up to 200, 300, 400. Last year, were you envisioning that this was going to happen, or it was a surprise for you, this contraction of the Bitcoin price?
It's a little bit surprising, to be very honest, because we had so many positive outlooks, and 2026 can still be a great year. I want to reiterate that. I think 2026 till the end, we have still like half a year roughly till the end. So I personally think there's still a very fair chance that 2026 turns out to be an amazing year for Bitcoin. But the level of contraction that we had, the level of downside that we actually experienced, was a little bit of surprise, because we had so many great outlets for Bitcoin. We had the ETFs, the institutional money. We had also Seyr and all of the strategies that he is doing that buys a lot of Bitcoin into the market. And the business cycle has been kind of predicted to be a little bit better. Now, the Fed chair, for example, which is a big part for like what Bitcoin is, hasn't changed his policy. And so the money and the liquidity is a little bit tighter than some might actually believe it to be. But that's just a short-term thing, because what we've learned for Bitcoin is the money printer has to print money. That's literally the only job that he has to do, and he will keep doing that no matter what. And so it doesn't matter if they're now a little bit stricter with liquidity, a little bit stricter with the interest rates because they're afraid of inflation, as they should be. long term they will gobble up that money printer because they have to. There's no way out. If there would be a good way out for the US dollar to not be inflated to death, then Bitcoin wouldn't be as necessary as it is. But there is mathematically no chance that they are not printing and not pushing more liquidity into the market. And with that, bringing asset prices, stock prices, real estate prices, and especially the Bitcoin price also up. So there's a liquidity macro side picture. There is a lot of FUD. There's a lot of downward pressure on Bitcoin. A lot of people selling at 100K, especially those all early Bitcoiners. We lost the laser eyes on Bitcoin. And so there's this Bitcoin depression currently going on, which is very normal, which we live through all couple of years. I think Bitcoiners that are there for more than 3-4 years are very used to that. I remember my first crash in the Bitcoin in 2021, 2022, coming from what 69K down to what I think 16K.
15, yeah.
15K. That was huge. And there was a lot of depression out in the Bitcoin market, a lot of capitulation. And people said, yeah, like that's it's over. we're dead, we're down. And now think about it. We had the top of 2021 at 69K. We crashed all the way down to 15K. And this was the depression point. And now the new depression point is 60K. All of a sudden, people are so bearish and so like it's over and it's all imploding at 60K. Previously, just 5 years ago, this was the celebration point. This was the point where everyone said, like, we're going up. It's amazing. It's like really, really cool. And then there are stupid people that say, oh, yeah, Bitcoin hasn't done anything in 5 years because the local top 5 years ago is now the same price as the local bottom right now. It's like, yeah, of course, if you're cherry picking the highest point 5 years ago and the lowest point right now, it's equal. But that actually is a phenomenal story because you have the top being now the new bottom. And so like what is a better thing for Bitcoin to happen to increase the bottom by the amount that previously was the top. And so I think we're just increasing the amount of people that are cheering and are interacting with Bitcoin. I think without all the institutional buying, we probably would have been a lot lower. We probably crashed down to 40, maybe 35K, something like that. Still possible. I'm not saying it's impossible that we go down to those levels. I just don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong. And so I'm coming back to this point of like, what amazing time to be alive, having all that possibilities in Bitcoin and being able to stack one more time at like 60K, and maybe we get a gift for 58K. I have some orders in. If we get down to 58K, that I would just love to gabble up some Bitcoin for the 58K gang. But yeah, I think last time we only touched the 59K and didn't really get down to 58. So I'm super. I already forgot the question you asked, but I'm super bullish.
No, totally. It's good that we were talking. One of the things that I see from this crash, because you were in the last crash, and this crash didn't come from Bitcoin, from inside Bitcoin. Last time we went for 15K with all the crashes inside the crypto ecosystem, not Bitcoin ecosystem. We went from starting in May with Terra Luna, then we went to FTX, Celsius, and now nothing happened inside the Bitcoin ecosystem. All comes from outside. What do you think that is the biggest threat for Bitcoin growth now outside the Bitcoin ecosystem? AI, the war, other factors that you see around different than last time?
I think the point is that there are no real threats outside of Bitcoin. And yeah, there's always the chance of something blowing up, like Binance blowing up will probably crash us down to like 30, 20K or something. But there's no real threat to Bitcoin that could significantly impact Bitcoin. There's a lot of impacts that potentially could happen that would have a short-term, really bad impact on the price. For example, strategy blowing up, but that's not really possible, at least not in the next like 10, 20 years. But there's not really like an outside thing that could happen right now or like this month or this year, where if this happens, Bitcoin crashes down to like extraordinary like levels. Because if you think about it, we had no, it's actually interesting because all the other crashes had like victims. All the other crashes of Bitcoin had the FTXs, the Celsiuses, the Mt. Goxes, like all of those public victims, and we didn't really had that this year. Now there's two paths forward. Basically, there's the one path that we say, hey, maybe a victim is still coming. Maybe we haven't seen all of it. Maybe there's something big happening. I wouldn't speculate on that, but it's not impossible. Or, which I think is more likely, is that we have a victimless crash because the Bitcoin got a lot more mature. And to be honest, we had a lot of victims already. If you look a little bit closer, because there's a lot of Bitcoin companies that had layoffs, that didn't expand the marketing as they wanted to, that had a 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% reduction in their sales and revenue and profit numbers. And so there has been massive victims. But what I think is happening is that the companies were prepared for that way better this time around, because we have seen so many negative examples. And how many negative examples does it take for the Bitcoin ecosystem to grow up, to act more maturely, and to not overexpand and not over expand and spend money on in the bull market, so you actually are more solid in a bear market? And so I think that's kind of what's happening, but there could still be a big victim, which that would be a lot of fun if that still happens.
Fun, like the word fun every time because now we do everyday stream in Spanish, and sometimes I say fun, and my friend, my business partner say it's not fun. It's not fun. People don't have fun. But yeah, I think that as you said, a lot of big teams that are now. We saw Nakamoto crashing more than 99% their stock. All the treasury companies that now I want to touch about this topic are suffering a lot, especially the small ones, the ones that start accumulating hard with Bitcoin prices over 110 and their average price is super high, and now they have huge unrealized loss. But of course, the marketing things, the conference, something that also I want to ask later, that the hype is not the same. But again, I think that this time, as you said, this is showing that Bitcoin is more mature and is inside the capital market. So it's the consequence of receiving the institutional money. Now Bitcoin is exposed to this capital movement. So probably we have AI. We had a few weeks ago the biggest IPO in the history. So there is capital rotating from Bitcoin ETF, from Bitcoin treasury companies, from preference shares to these companies. And once all this hype finish, it will come back to Bitcoin. I'm talking about this bear market or this correction. Do you think that 60K, because you said probably it can go down more. I think that there is always a black swan event that can send things even lower. But do you think that 60K would be the bottom of this correction, or you expect a little bit more down the price of Bitcoin?
When I listen to all my way smarter friends around analyzing Bitcoin on chain or technically on charts and all of those things, which I personally have no clue about, all of them saying there's a little bit more pain ahead. There's a little bit more, like it's not fully there yet. We have a little bit runway down. Doesn't mean we go further down. It just means like we could potentially go further down. But what I see, and that's more like my frame of reference is, I see a lot of support around the 60K, 58K, the 59K area, because that's just like a super attractive price for Bitcoin in 2026. And there's just a lot of dry powder out there saying like, oh, if it gets down there, I really want to gobble some up. Now, again, I think we could go down. There is no such thing as a bottom. It's just is it a good price or a bad price? So in history, if you look back and see, okay, what was a good price to buy Bitcoin versus what was a bad price to buy Bitcoin, there are things like the fear and greed index. There are things like the power law. There's things of like, is it oversold or overbought? You can look at the on-chain data. You can look at so many different, you can look at the 2-week moving average. There's so many different charts and tools out there where you can say, hey, is it now a good time to buy Bitcoin or is it now a bad time to buy Bitcoin? And my important takeaway is all of them right now say it's an amazing time to buy Bitcoin. It's very cheap. We are touching the 200-week moving average. We are under the power law last resistance band. Like fear and greed index is very low, and so like no matter what you're actually looking for, all of them are saying, hey, this is the time to buy. This is not the time to sell Bitcoin. And so that's, I think, always the takeaway, because if I know exactly where the bottom is, I can make I could make very good trades and can be very successful in a short period of time. But you just can't. You can only determine, is it a good time or a bad time to buy Bitcoin? Now, you could argue it's never really a bad time to buy Bitcoin, but there are great times to buy Bitcoin, and there are good times to buy Bitcoin, and there are not that good of a time to buy Bitcoin. And I personally think now it's a great, amazing, what a chance, what an amazing thing to buy Bitcoin, because we're at the bottom, and we have a lot of room to run from here.
Yes, totally agree. I think that I also had some guys that do on-chain analysis in the podcast, and they say probably we can go lower to 55, eventually 50, but not lower than that. So for the person that does not understand these metrics, and also, as you said, nobody knows where is the bottom. Otherwise, we would be rich we would be millionaires right now. So I think that this is a good time, an excellent time for buying. Of course, no financial advice, and many indicators I see a good resistance on the 60K the 60K level. And talking about the treasury companies, because this is another topic that has been spoken long in the last months, because when there is a crash, we always try to find a guilty person, or we have to find a scapegoat for the crash. And most of the all Bitcoin maxis, the ones that were orange pill in 2017, 18 or earlier, start pointing out the treasury companies, especially when Seyr said we could sell some Bitcoin, and they sold the huge amount of 32 Bitcoin. What do you think about the treasury companies? Do you think that are doing a good job for the ecosystem? Do you think there is a risk, a potential risk, as the other maxis said, or they are the ones that are pushing the adoption forward?
I don't think you can ban anyone from Bitcoin. And so I think that's a very important starting point. everyone can buy Bitcoin, everyone can sell Bitcoin, and everyone can build on top of Bitcoin. That's why we have the protocol rules that limit what we can do and what we cannot do. But within those rules, everyone can do whatever they want to do within those rules, especially buying and selling and building financial products around that. That's the permissionless nature of Bitcoin, and that's a very important point and property of Bitcoin. Now, do I think it's a good idea to build financial instruments around Bitcoin that drive more money outside of Bitcoin into Bitcoin? Yeah, absolutely. Like the first time I mentioned Stretch to my families, they were like, "Oh wow!" And Stretch, just for the people that don't know, Stretch is a preferred stock of Strategy. Strategy is the common share. It's a lot of complicated words. Just look at Stretch as a bank account for people that pays you 11.5% and tries to be stable at $100, which currently they are not as successful in that. And I told people about that, and everyone was like, "Oh, how can I buy that? Like that's amazing." And the only question that they have is like, "What's the risk? Like what is the potential downside of that?" And so if they can operate for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years and can continuously pay that dividend, continuously stay close to par with less volatility, I think they will raise a lot of money from people that would never touch Bitcoin. And this would be amazing if we succeed in that. Now, do we succeed in that? I'm not sure about that, but I think so. Like I'm leaning towards yes, that they're actually succeeding. But there's risks to it. But very important, those risks are only and exclusively to strategy. If Stretch blows up, if strategy blows up, Bitcoin is still fine. Yes, that would mean that a lot of Bitcoin get onto the market. That would mean that the Bitcoin price, the US dollar exchange rate for Bitcoin would go down a lot, which will give us all an amazing time to buy more Bitcoin. And that's a risk. So the biggest risk from strategy is that we get cheaper Bitcoin. I'll take that. I'll take that risk any time. So you can decide yourself if you want to also invest in strategy or you want to use tools like Stretch and all of those things. It's not Bitcoin. It has a lot more risks because it has all the risks of Bitcoin plus all the company and security risks that you're also taking on. So keeping that in mind, you are free to do whatever you want to do with your money if you invest in strategy, if you invest in Stretch, but it does not have risk to Bitcoin other than some guy that has a lot of Bitcoin deciding to sell those Bitcoin. And that risk is just a free market. And that's not a risk. That's just a free market at play. It's like, oh, but what if everyone sells Bitcoin? Then it would go to zero. Yeah, that's true. But also, why would everyone sell? At some point, someone would buy. Because I have a lot of buy orders at like 50K, 40K, 60K in there. At some point, people will gobble them up because they understand what Bitcoin is. And so I don't really see a systematic risk to Bitcoin when it comes to strategy or any other treasury company. I think the most talk is on strategy because they are the biggest dog. They are the ones that have the biggest Bitcoin reserve on the balance sheet. And so I personally believe that strategy could be an amazing company. They have a shot at being the biggest company on planet Earth with what they're doing, but it's not fixed. Like that's a very like even if Bitcoin is successful, they might still mess it up. They might still fumble their bags, and so that's a very important point I think for Bitcoiners to realize that for me Bitcoin is almost inevitable that it will go to $1 million to $10 million to $100 million per coin because of all of those reasons, and it does not have those internal risks as strategy has. And so what if Bitcoin goes to 10 million? Will strategy be successful? Yeah, probably because they have 800,000 Bitcoin, they probably soon have 900,000 Bitcoin. And so if you have 900,000 Bitcoin, you buy them at price of like 50K, 70K, 80K, 90K, 40K, 20K, and they are now worth 10 million. You can do a lot of things with that. And so if you think about that, that would mean Strategy could potentially be one of the biggest companies on planet Earth. Now they're worth 40 billion. And the biggest company on planet Earth is like 5 trillion. That's a very big difference. That's like 110, 120x from here, or potentially even more. I might be wrong with my math, but it's like a very big jump from the 40 billion to like the biggest company on planet Earth right now. It's, I think, like more than 100x. And so that's an exciting opportunity for Strategy. That's an exciting thing for Seyr and for all the shareholders, but it's not Bitcoin. And you shouldn't compare it to Bitcoin. It's just a publicly traded company that happens to do things in the Bitcoin space. You can like what Strike is doing. You don't have to invest in them. You can like what Relay or River or any other Bitcoin company is doing. You don't have to invest in them. And so you can just stack Bitcoin and be fine with whatever comes out of it. Because if you just have Bitcoin, you don't care about Stretch, or if it's now at 88 bucks or 95, or if they can pay the dividends or not. You can just like lean back, enjoy the match, Argentina and Austria, and just like have a blast. If you do have Stretch, if you do have Strategy common shares, you should care about those things, and you should be educated, and you should really know the mechanics, why it could blow up, why it will succeed, and all of those things. So I think it's just a very normal human thing to do, of like, oh, Strategy has Bitcoin. Oh, if Strategy blows up, Bitcoin blows up. Yeah, it's not that easy. To some other treasury companies out there, because you mentioned Nakamoto, I think Nakamoto still has to prove that they have value and they have a working business model. I haven't seen anything towards that. I'm not interested in buying that stock whatsoever, but I might be wrong. They might have some value in the future. They have a great conference. I go there I think every year since I started the podcast, actually. Even though they get some heat for like, oh, like doing that and that, but I love those conferences. Always a blast being there. And you see a lot of people that complain about them, but then all the Bitcoiners are there. So it's just a great place to be because all the Bitcoiners are there. Then there are others like Strive. They are really interesting. They have a great execution team. There are teams like MetaPlanet. They are interesting because they are out of the strategy jurisdiction. See, they can do strategy things and not compete with strategy. Strive has to compete with strategy because it's the same capital market, but it's a smaller, nimbler team, so they can do things quicker. They can do other things. Yeah, so the whole treasury space is interesting. But if you're just a Bitcoiner, you can say, do whatever you want, bring more money towards Bitcoin, and I just lean back and enjoy the match.
That's the point. No, that's what we preach, because I've been seeing, especially, for example, in the Spanish world, a lot of hate towards these companies. But now I start seeing, for example, hate from Bitcoiners that I respect a lot, especially Chuck Mollers. How do you see when a person like Chuck Mollers starts talking now? All his speeches are attacking Seyr. He's attacking Seyr. He's attacking strategy. As you said, you could not like. If you don't like it, of course, you don't buy stocks of strategy. The same if you don't like Tesla, if you don't like SpaceX or Nvidia. But how do you feel when the attack? Because I expect Peter Schiff tweeting against Seyr every time Bitcoin goes down, and every time strategy goes down, Peter Schiff saying, "Oh, this will die," blah blah blah. But when you see something like someone like Shaq Mollers talking crap about Saylor, how is your feeling?
I mean, it is kind of interesting to see Peter Schiff and Jack Mallers and a lot of other Bitcoiners agreeing on something, like in the Bitcoin space. I honestly, like, I have the biggest respect for what Jack Mallers built with Strike. I have the biggest respect of what he has built with his audience, and I'm not sure how good of a CEO he will be for 21 Capital. We still have to see the execution. He's always talking very big of like he will buy more Bitcoin and strategy. He will do all those things. I haven't seen a single buy since he started the company. If he attacks Saylor or not, like I've only seen the one short clip where he says like, "Why did Saylor not include me in his slides?" Like Saylor, it's his slides. Like he can do whatever he wants and likes with those slides. Um, I I personally like Jack a lot as a Bitcoiner. I love and respect what he's doing. I wouldn't touch his company whatsoever right now with 21 Capital just because I don't see any execution. And if he comes with execution, like I'm happy to change my mind. But I just see a lot of talking and not a lot of execution. On the other hand, with strategy, we see execution and transparency every single week. I want to bring something up. They sold 32 Bitcoin, as you know. Those 32 Bitcoin they sold in 1 week, and then the following week they bought like 1,500 Bitcoin. So they really didn't sell any Bitcoin. They just wanted to prove something to the credit rating agencies. And so, if you have that, why did people get so mad, and why did people get outraged by that? Because they disclosed it. They willingly disclosed that. By law, they're only required to file those reports once a quarter, not once a week, just once per quarter, so 4 times a year. They're choosing to do it like 52, 56 times a year because they think the transparency and the interest that comes from that is beneficial to the company. And so, what if they would have just disclosed quarterly results? Then we would hear in a couple of weeks or months, hey, we bought like 50,000 Bitcoin. Oh, and by the way, we did all those trades. And then there's like one trade where they sold 32 Bitcoin, but right in the next week, they bought 1,500 Bitcoin. And it wouldn't be a big deal at all. So they have that option, and they used that option already in 2022. In 2022, they sold 700 Bitcoin, a lot more than 32, by the way. And 2 days later, they immediately rebought like 900 Bitcoin. So they sold more than they sold now, and they rebought less than they rebought now. Why was it 2022 not big news? Because they didn't report it the same way as they did it now. They deliberately did that to create interest for their company. Michael Saylor is not a stupid man. He deliberately did the 32 Bitcoin. He didn't need the 32 Bitcoin. Even if you, in the same week as they sold the 32 Bitcoin, which gave him 2.5 million, he also issued shares where he got 104 million. And so he had 104 million new capital coming in from his shares, and then 2.5 million from the selling of his Bitcoin. Do you really believe that he needed those 2 million? Obviously, he didn't need them at all, because he could have just raised, instead of 104 million, 106.5 million. The strategy shares have such a huge volume traded every single day that he can just issue ATM and just like get hundreds and even billions of dollars every single day. And so, why did he do it then? To test the market. He wanted to see how Twitter reacts. He wanted to see how the podcasters react. He wanted to see and prove the point to the credit rating agencies to see, hey, my Bitcoin is not worth zero because I can sell it and it doesn't tank the price 80 90%. It tanks the price like 5-10% because I did it the first time. And honestly, if you think about the mechanism that he has, he issues those shares, he buys 10,000 Bitcoin, and then he sells 100 Bitcoin to cover up the dividends. It's a very easy trade. Would you buy 10 Bitcoin today if you have to sell 1 Bitcoin in 1 year? Like, of course you would. Like, why wouldn't you? I rather buy 10 Bitcoin today and sell 1 Bitcoin in 1 year than buying 1 Bitcoin right now. Because at the one point, I have 1 Bitcoin at the end of the year, and with the other one, I have 9 Bitcoin at the end of the year. And so I get a little bit frustrated when people look at strategy and they just look at like one number, they haven't done any research, and they're like, oh, they are diluting the shareholders. By the way, they are themselves also the shareholders. So if Seyr would dilute the shareholders, he would dilute himself. So why the heck would he do that? But he doesn't. And they're just like hating on like small metrics. They're seeing like this and that. They're taking some clips, never sell your Bitcoin. They're just trolling around. And that's the only thing they really do, because they don't need to do all those things, but they choose to do them to prove a point and to be a sufficient act in the market. Now, that's kind of my point on strategy. But you asked me about check models, not about strategy.
Yes. Yeah, your feeling against, because when you see, I think that I've been to the conference in Bristol, the Bitcoin Treasury Sun conference, and I saw how the treasury companies work all together as a team. And I think that we need to think all the Bitcoiners as a team. So I feel bad when a Bitcoiner criticizes another one because he has a lot of Bitcoin. I don't know why. So that's what I wanted to ask you as a Bitcoiner. How are your feelings when you see Chuck Mullers, a person that I respect a lot, from who I learned a lot, criticizing a Bitcoiner? That's the point.
Yeah, I think it's normal. The Bitcoiners are infighting and are disagreeing a lot on every single issue since forever. It's a normal thing of Bitcoin. It's a cyber hornet. Don't get against the cyber hornet. Don't play with the cyber hornets, because they will attack you, they will come after you, and they will hunt you down till your last breath. I personally believe that we could work more together. I think we could fight less and love more. But that's an easy thing to say, because we are very disagreeable people, and that's actually a very beautiful thing. Bitcoiners are the most disagreeable people on planet Earth. I strongly believe that there's not a single other group that are so disagreeable than Bitcoiners. And if you see a group of people that are disagreeing on everything with everybody, and they're all agreeing that Bitcoin is an amazing idea, that's a very strong signal that Bitcoin is in fact a very good idea. And so that infighting, that disagreeing on very small issues every single hour of the day on Twitter, on YouTube, on Reddit, on all the social media platforms is actually a very good sign and a very healthy sign. And I like to see that. I sometimes like to get involved, even though it's brutal, because you fight for one side attacks you, then you get attacked from your own side because the own side doesn't think you're pure enough, and so it's a war field, and I absolutely love it.
Yes, in the Spanish Bitcoin community is a little bit of war. And again, but anyway, I love what your take. Like, we are we disagree each other, but we all think that Bitcoin is amazing. So it's like a group of brothers and sisters in Argentina that all disagree, but every Sunday you go and sit down with your mom to eat pasta and enjoy all together. So that is a good point. And talking about the disagreement, yesterday you made a post about not against core. Tell me a little bit about your takes on this other war that we are seeing now.
Yeah, I think that's what I actually referenced before. I'm leaning towards knots. I'm leaning towards BIP 110, but I'm very cautious with that because I I haven't really grasped everything around the full consequences, what comes from that, and I might switch sides. And it's funny because I got attacked most of the BIP 110 and not side, not from the core side, even though I made it very clear that I'm actually more towards that side. But they are very purists. They're very strong fighters, and as I said before, it's the cyber hornets. They will hunt you down, no matter if you like it or not, and they will ask you repeatedly, "What's your take? What's your take? What's your take? Can you tell me what's your take on PIP 110?" I've heard it so many times that I was like, "Okay, I'll make a post on it." Like it's too much. I'll write one post, and the next time someone asks me, I can just send them the post instead of like explaining it over and over and over again. And so I personally believe that this might not be over. There might be a bigger fight coming down the line. I'm not sure about that. It might also just blow off and blow over. But the community is already very strong around the Nut side, so strong that I don't think this will end anytime soon. Is it healthy for Bitcoin? Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's very healthy that we fight over what node implementation to run and what to signal for. How how amazing is that we have those discussions? We want that people care about what Bitcoin is and what it represents and what node to run. And this is something very, very good. It would actually worry me. It would actually be a red flag for me if we didn't had that huge fight all the time. If we didn't had that fight that we had with the block size wars. I don't think this fight right here is as big as the block size wars. At least not now. It can still develop. We could still go there, but I personally believe that it's a very good thing, a very healthy thing for the community to fight on. And one learning for everyone is you should run a node and you should educate yourself on what is the best implementation and why are you choosing it, and not because a guy on the internet, no matter if it's a podcaster, a Twitter troll, or whoever it is, tells you to run it. Run a node and run the one you are actively wanting to promote yourself, not because someone else tells you to do that. Because if you are just doing it because a guy on the internet tells you to do it, you are not adding any decentralization, and you are not valuable to the network because you're just following some guy on the internet, either Twitter, YouTube, whatever. So, like, I actively encourage people, run a node, not run this node, because I want them to actually think through what is the consequence if I run core, what is the consequence if I run nodes, what is the consequence if I signal or don't signal for PIP 110. You should actively think about those questions and make up your own mind. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone else's word for it. It's your decision, your money. You, like, if you give the decision what node to run away, it's a little bit like you give your key away to your Bitcoin. And so don't do that. keep
Of
keep your
course.
keys and keep your own decision of what node to run. That's my main message. And I think then we also end up at the best solution in the end.
Yes, so totally agree. I think that this is the message I'm sure that you give in your podcast, and it's the message that we try to give. We educate, but it's like we are like Morpheus. We put the pills. So you choose it and you find. I always like to say that I love to bring people at the entrance of the rabbit hole. So, and I explain them why they need to cross the rabbit hole. But once they cross the rabbit hole and they enter, they take the road that they want, the rabbit hole that they want, and I don't try to influence them. I have my views. Probably not my audience have the same views 100%. And that is the magic of Bitcoin. And I love your take. We all disagree, but we all agree that Bitcoin is the best thing. So it's amazing. So, and last time I interviewed you, you were telling me that your project was about to write a book. And you are, I think, that close to finish it. So tell me about the book that you're writing. What is it? What is this about? And why people must read it?
I'm not as close to finishing as I might want to be. I want to talk about. I want to write about the future development of Bitcoin, and I want to make a comparison to the past that I haven't heard anywhere else. I've made the comparison in Prague. The talk will hopefully come out quite soon. And it will be actually really interesting to see how it will impact the Bitcoin ecosystem and where and how do we actually get towards not a few million users or not a few tens of millions of users, but how do we get to a few billion users? And we can look at the internet, we can look at the electricity, we can look at all those innovations. But one thing I actually really enjoy looking at is the car, because the car is a very simple analogy. We know the horse. And I asked myself the question, why in 1900 was the all of a sudden a mass adoption happening from 1900 in 13 years to 1913, where remember that picture where on the one side in 1900 in New York, Easter morning, there was like one car and a bunch of horses, and then like 13 years later there was like one horse and a bunch of cars. Why did it happen in 13 years when the car was already invented 15 years prior to the first picture? What did it actually take for the car to be developed? And yes, it was a little bit the car itself. The car had to be better. The engine got better. The lights, like the first car didn't have lights, no AC, no full self driving, no roof, just three tires and all of those things. So the car got better over time, obviously. But the real accelerator, the real catalyst for Bitcoin to go up over time and for the car to be adopted over time was the ecosystem around it. It was the gas stations. It was the mechanics. It was the paved roads. It was the supply chains. It was the ecosystem around Bitcoin, around the car. And so if you think about it, would you drive a car right now if there are no paved roads? So the roads are like muddy and it's like made for a horse. If there are no gas stations along the way where you can refuel very easily and very conveniently, if there are no mechanics, if something goes wrong, you have to fix it yourself. If there are no supply chains where if something goes wrong, you have to figure out how to get another spare part and all of those things. And so with Bitcoin, I think the core technology and not Bitcoin core, but the core technology of Bitcoin is very strong. The miners, the node operators, the overall stack of Bitcoin, the core technology is very strong. The rules also with it, and the thing that is lacking is the ecosystem around it. It's the wallets, it's the lightning, it's the layer 2, 3, 4, and all of those things. And so this is the thing that we still have to work on. We have to pave the roads, we have to build the gas stations, we have to hire the mechanics, and we have to build the supply chain out for Bitcoin. And that's kind of the direction I want to take the book on, and want to take the people around like what it actually takes to really do Bitcoin to the mass, to bring Bitcoin to the mass market. And I go through three essential forces that I see in the market that decide that. It's the incentives, why Bitcoin is better, why people are choosing Bitcoin over other assets. I go over the infrastructure that I just explained, the ecosystem, the core technology. And then the last one is the social layer, the consensus network. What is the social layer actually impacting on Bitcoin? So that's kind of a very long book that will come out in a very short time, summarized, and I hope people will enjoy it, but it will take some time till it actually comes out.
I would be pleased to read it, so I will stay tuned. So when it comes out, I want to read it because I read a lot of books from Austrian authors on economics that were the best books I read in my life. So it's gonna be good. And moving to the end of this chat, um, do you see something that I see? I don't want to call you or me influencers. I like to call
It
ourselves
sounds like a
educators.
sickness.
I hate when someone say influencers because we already talk about that. We don't influence. We just say we just preach, and people. I don't influence to do anything. So we are educators, and we've been in the space for a long time. Do you see that now, or is my view that the space, the Bitcoin Twitter, the ecosystem is a little bit quiet, and we need more? There are not new people coming, or there are new people coming to ask about Bitcoin. Or do you see that the environment on social media still the same as before?
I think the So let's go back a little bit further, because it's always we are talking about such a small time frame always. Think about 2018. How many Bitcoin educators were there that were Bitcoin only? Like, were there like two, three? There were not a lot of. There was really not a lot. Like there was Anthony. No, Andreas Antonopoulos was there. I think most of them actually started in 2020, like Anthony Pompliano. The Seyr Moose came out with this book like 2018, so he started a little bit early on this Bitcoin only journey. There was not a lot around. I started learning about Bitcoin in 2020, and there was the space already a little bit involved, but there was a lot of like this crypto thing, and like I'm a crypto influencer and I'm a Bitcoin influencer at the same time. And so now we have tons of podcasts, tons of live streams, tons of Twitter channels that are fully focused on Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. And so if you think about what that actually means for the Bitcoin ecosystem, is that the core of the Bitcoiners, the educators, is way stronger than 6 years ago. Think about how strong we will be in 6 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. And so we have those core educators that are doing a fantastic job every single day and dedicating their life towards Bitcoin. Think about it. Think about all the people that said, fuck all the things that I've done the last 10 years, 20 years, 6 years, 100 years, not 100 years, but like all the things that I've done in the past. And now I'm dedicating all my life to educating other people on Bitcoin. That's huge of a thing to do, especially if you had already a successful career maybe before. And so we have now a lot of people that do that every single day. The only thing they are thinking about every single day is like, how can I reach with this content more people? Like, how amazing is that we have that? And so if you think about it, we will get a lot more people, we will educate a lot more people, and we will shine through a lot louder. Now it's bear market, so the big creators are smaller. The smaller creators are underwater. They're barely seen by anyone. And this is kind of a hard time to be a Bitcoin educator. but it's the most fun time to be a Bitcoin educator, because you can build your audience, you can build all those things, and if it goes up later on, it'll be a lot of fun.
I would correct you. It's not if, it's when it goes up again. So that's the point.
Correction.
Yeah. I like this time. Yeah, I think that I like this time because, again, it's a good time for building. It's a good time for building a good audience, a good base layer. And when the price goes up again, we will be ready. And to finish, I want to talk about the other projects that you are running. How is your main project, that is the podcast? I saw that you changed to streaming, and also microseed. I never ask about microseed, so I give you a little bit of time to explain what you are doing on that.
There's like 100 different ways how I can tackle that. I want to make it easy for people. I want to build something meaningful in life. And so there needs to be more than just talking. I did a lot of talking the last 3 years, and the talking is amazing. I love it. It's fun. I just love to come on a live stream with you and just have fun, talk about Austria versus Argentina, talk about Bitcoin, talk about the infighting, talk about Seyr and BIP 110 and core and knots and all of those things. But also, I wanna make sure I'm also building in this space. And so I founded a small company that has the mission to fund and found companies that actually produce meaningful services and products in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Now, that was a hard sentence for me to get out there. And so Microseed is my first try to found a company that brings a meaningful product to the Bitcoin ecosystem. Hopefully, at least right now, the customers are absolutely loving it. We at the conferences, we get such great feedback. I was actually, because you mentioned Lugano before, I was in Lugano just as Robin, not as Microseed, and we had no booth there. My Microseed colleagues were not there. And all of a sudden, a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, there's a guy that sells microseeds here." And I'm like, "Really?" And actually, there was a guy that loved the product so much that had it in his pocket and showed it to people how it works and what it is, and then referred them to our website. And I never heard about him. Like, we didn't even know about this guy. And I'm like the head of the marketing department, kind of. And so you have a product that really resonates with the audience, it really resonates with the people, and the people really like it, which makes the whole thing easier. And it's really nice just to contribute to the Bitcoin ecosystem, not just the talking that I do and love, and hopefully people appreciate that also, but actually I want to contribute companies. I want to contribute products and services and something meaningful in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And so there's a lot more to come from that. I haven't revealed even the name of the company, but it will come out a big time in like 5 to 6 years. It's a very long-term project that I'm building. And Microseed is the first small drop in the bucket that I'm planning to do with that company. And I'm very excited about it. And people will hear more about it in a couple of years. But there won't be anything coming in the short term.
Okay, and about your channel, you switch from podcast to live stream. Why was that move? But I think that you still do podcast. You recorded one with Chef Booth, then with Daniel. I interviewed that guy, and with the pilot. I don't remember the name. I also interviewed
George Bodin, yeah.
Yeah, George Bodin. So, but now you are focusing more in live stream?
Yeah, first I wanted to fully switch to live streaming, but live streaming has a lot of downsides that I cannot compromise on. So I do a hybrid. I do 3 podcasts per week and 2 live streams per week. That's kind of like my strategy right now. But it really all is kind of like couldn't change anytime. I'm just trying to figure out how can I get to more how can I get the Bitcoin message to more people. That's that's literally all I'm thinking about every single day, while I'm also building the products and the services next to it.
Excellent. And the last question is, how do you see the future of Bitcoin?
Oh gosh, that could start a whole new podcast. I will keep it short because I have to go to my Argentina versus Austria match quite soon. I don't want
Me
to
too.
I don't want to miss the pre-talk. It's almost as fun as the match itself. I think Bitcoin's future is coming either way. No matter what you think, it's kind of the inevitable future that we see. Once electricity is there, we will use it no matter what challenges come our way. Once the internet has been discovered, it will be coming no matter what. And we've just discovered digital scarce property, and we will not let it go. And we will pursue that idea till it's the foundation of our financial ecosystem. And there's a lot of implications for that. Will fiat still be around? Probably. Will we still have financial instruments and credit and all of those things? Probably. But the future looks very different. The financial game has been changed because of Bitcoin forever. And this is already here right now.
And well, again, but there is one more question, and in fact, 2 more questions, not related to Bitcoin. The first one is, how do you, in Austria, how do you watch the football? Are you gonna meet friends now? And how is do you drink? Do you eat?
Yeah, so we will watch football here, actually at my place, with some friends. There is a lot of like public viewing places outside, but today it's so hot. It's so hot in Austria, and I have AC inside, so we're choosing the nice AC climate way to do it, and yeah. Will be fun, and that's how we watch it. But there's a lot of public viewing. Like there's a lot of public viewing. There was actually for the first match. The first match started at 6 in the morning, and you had to stand in line at like 4:30 in the morning to get into the restaurants, get into the public viewing places. Today, the match is at 7 p.m. So right now it's like 5:30 p.m. in Vienna, and at 7 p.m. the match starts. So in about like 1 hour, 20 minutes. And I can only imagine there will be huge crowds at all the public viewing places because it's Argentina. There was already at the first match huge crowds, absurdly enormous crowds when we played against some unknown opponent at 6 in the morning in Austria. You can imagine how many more people will be against Argentina there when it's 7 p.m. in the evening. We all wanna see how we we try to keep Messi intact.
Yeah. Plus, I think that Austria is back in the World Cup since 1998 or something like that.
Yeah,
I remember.
We haven't been in the World Cup for about 30 years. So like we haven't been in the World Cup for a very long time. I think 28 years it's been since the last time we have been in the World Cup. And the team that we have right now, I've never seen a better team. And even though our most valuable player actually got hurt before the World Cup, right before, we still have such an amazing team for Austria. It's nothing compared to like Argentina or Spain or even Belgium or like even Germany, like one of like the bigger ones, or France. Oh gosh, France has a really nice team also. But I have one question for you. Who do you think will win the World Cup?
Oh, for me, the favorite is Spain. The favorite is Spain. They have a great team. They have a great team, even though they started not in a good way, 0-0 against Cabo Verde. But for me, the favorite is Spain. And then you have the tier 2, that for me is France, Argentina, and Brazil. France, Argentina have a great team. Argentina has a very huge team because the players that are not playing anymore, that were champions in Qatar, now the ones that came new are better than them, except Di Maria. And you have the base of the team, the core of the team, that they already know how is to become a world champion. So they have no pressure, as we were talking before. Messi has no pressure. Messi is enjoying playing. So I think that's why in Argentina is also a candidate. And of course, you cannot leave Brazil outside, even though Brazil now is not the same Brazil when I was a teenager, but it's Brazil. So Brazil is like Bitcoin. Bitcoin can go down, and when you in the blink of an eye, Bitcoin can go up 20K. So that's the thing. And how about you?
I agree. Like, I might actually see France doing also really good. I like the team what they're having. They have really good stars in them. But if I had to guess now, because it's live, let's bring a guess. You say Spain, then I will say Argentina will win again.
I hope. God listen to you. And yeah, the last question is, what is the result of today's game?
3-1 for Argentina.
Well, you don't have faith in your. I think that it's gonna be a tough. I think that Argentina will win, but it's not gonna be easy. So probably 1-0, 2-0, but closely, or 2-1. I think that it's gonna be tough for Argentina. But I hope it's a good match. Nobody gets injured, and you enjoy with your friends there. Drink a lot of beer, enjoy the football, because that's the way that we used. Now I am alone at home. It's gonna be 1 a.m. in the morning, so I'm gonna watch it alone. Very sad. But when I was in Argentina, in Argentina, everyone is like barbecue, a lot of alcohol, and watching the football. So that's the way. Robin, thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I appreciate a lot what you do. And to finish, anything else you want to add, and how people can contact you?
Just search my name anywhere, and stay curious and stay hungry.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Robin, and thank you very much to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, follow our guests in social media, because doing so, you help us a lot in painting the world orange. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and give them the orange pill. See you in the next episode. That is not going to be live. This is an exception because of the match. But see you in the next episode. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi.